Good evening, everyone. It is 10:35 here on the East Coast. Welcome to TwitchLine, your home for relationship advice on Twitch. I am your caster Hodo, but you can also call me Z. Joined as always with my best friend, Mr. Acorn. You can call him Tim if you want to. Also, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, sir. Doing very well. Just finished off a massive steak here, so I'm full up and I'm ready to rock.
Living the dream. Good steak. Nice vegetables on the side. Hopefully, trying to sort of balance that.
Yeah.
The
Spinach salad, little parmesan,
Mhm.
some oil and salt and vinaigrette. We're good.
I like it. I like it. I had macaroni and cheese. So that
Hey
was
man,
not.
keep it real.
Yep. Not the greatest dinner of the world, but I'll deal. I'll have something nice this weekend. But as always, let me just sort of update you on all of our socials here as we start the show. You can contact us here on twitchlinelove@gmail.com if you've got any questions you want to ask either of us or have any relationship questions, advice, anything like that. You can go ahead and send that to that Gmail account. You can also tweet us at TwitchLine, our Twitter address. You can contact us through Twitter, give us interesting articles, or maybe even link something that you want us to talk about. So that's a great way to contact us on there. We're also available on YouTube as we are streaming on YouTube now. Anybody on YouTube? Hello. We are co-streaming on Twitch and on YouTube, just making sure that we hit all of our audiences available. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can click on the link below. That'll take you to our YouTube channel. It has our full archive of TwitchLine shows where you can actually just catch all of our past discussions as well as our Sunday focus features where we talk about a single subject. Our last focus feature that was cast this Sunday was baggage. So if you want to catch up on that, you can catch us on YouTube. You can also, if you're interested and don't want to participate in Google's money making schemes, can go to SoundCloud. Yes, we have joined SoundCloud, and you can just join us and subscribe to us on SoundCloud. There, you can click the link below. That'll take you to our latest upload, and that was the Sunday feature there on SoundCloud. So you can have a listen on us, take us on the go anywhere you want with us, as long as you have your phone or maybe even a tablet where you can listen to us, and you can listen to all of the segments there on SoundCloud. We've uploaded the Sunday segment as well as the previous show, but we will upload some more best ofs onto SoundCloud so that you can catch us there. So we've updated the main screen a little bit here. So you'll see me up in the corner. Hello. You'll see Tim's photo here. Eventually, he will get a webcam so that you will be able to see him react to some of the things we do talk about. Other than that, you get his nice GQ photo there in the corner. So he looks all extra sexy. So,
Hmm.
so yes, welcome to Twitchline. As you can see, we've put our socials up there on the center screen. So if you want to talk to us or reach out to us, it's available here full time now that you can actually see us. That was an example that one of the people that we were sort of looking to see how we could configure our channel sort of said that was going to help. But in the meantime, let us talk about our first topic here. We talk about relationship problems, issues, what people sort of go through on Reddit here on Wednesdays, and your emails if we get any of your emails here. But today it's strictly a Reddit day, so we're going to bring up our first topic here, and it is a doozy of a topic, if I don't say so myself. It is my girlfriend of 2 years breaks up with me every time we have an argument. Now, Tim, this sounds as bad as it is. I hope this isn't as bad as it is, but I read a little bit, and I think your take is going to be pretty close to what my take is going to be.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a dumpster fire here, but let's get into it. See what we got. It's posted by user Your Office Fan, and he says he's a 23-year-old male. His girlfriend is 24-year-old female. They've been together 2 years. They break up every time they have a disagreement. So he says, I adore my girlfriend, whom I have dated for 2 years, and truly want to marry her one day. However, I'm scared to ever say how I feel for fear of her breaking up with me. Mhm. Ever since she and I started dating, she has probably broken up with me 15 to 20 times or more. I've honestly lost count at this point. The first time she did it was because I had mentioned that her being overweight scared me and that she should truly prioritize her health. Okay.
I'm sorry, I
Right,
had to laugh
right.
on that one because
Yeah,
you're an idiot if you mention your weight
yeah.
of your partner. So
This is
you're
a
bad.
severe this is a severe case of foot and mouth disease. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Anyways, right or wrong, that set her off, and she broke up with me. Ever since, she has used breaking up with me as revenge for me displeasing her. I found out that she hid from me that she shares car insurance with an ex, and I got upset, so she dumped me. I found out that she hid that she had a GED and not a diploma. After I got upset, and she hid this from me, she broke up with me. She has always found a way to turn any situation around on me, and then end the relationship over it. She has even broken up with me for things that I did not even do. She had issues with me messaging a female coworker, even though most of the messages revolved around her, i.e., this is what my girlfriend and I did this weekend, this is what I'm getting her for Christmas, etc. She snooped through my phone and found the Google chat by searching through my work email, and then broke up with me during a trophy ceremony I was part of and had been looking forward to all year. She did this again by breaking up with me when she saw me sitting next to a pretty classmate in a photograph taken and posted to my school's Facebook page. I am at the point where I never speak my mind and I never voice my opinion or speak my concerns to her. I feel trapped. I love the woman so much and truly want to be able to have a healthy relationship with her, but if she ever feels as if I slighted her in even the smallest way, she will end the relationship with me and force me to come crawling back. What do I do if I truly want to stay in this relationship? Lord help us, boy.
No, no. This man is not in a relationship. He is a hostage. That was my note when I first read this. This is insane. I'm sorry, but this is my initial take on this, and you can sort of elaborate and go more into the scientific details, but this is how I'm going to describe it. This man is being manipulated. She, the girlfriend, the 24F on the other side, has found a way to sort of, to, I don't want to say it, to basically find a way to get the upper hand in the relationship. And that means breaking up with this man. This man has actually already understood that she will just go to this well every time he finds something or some image or whatever it is that insults her and just breaks up with her, and therefore he has to come crawling back. And at this point, it's not, oh, it's so cute, she broke up with me. This is detrimental to his mental state. And at this point, I almost believe he's like suffering Stockholm syndrome. It's crazy. No normal person does this, and I don't get how he's put up with this so long. And that quote, "I love her so much, I really want to have a healthy relationship with her." No, 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 no. You're. This is more. He starts has to start thinking about himself in this particular case, because the relationship that he's in is not healthy. This is insane. But I had to get that off my chest because, my God, this is beyond terrible for this guy.
Yeah, man. This is this is pretty wild. Uh yeah, as soon as I read this, my initial thought is in the first sentence, I want to marry her. But later in the sentence, I am scared to ever say how I feel. Okay, there's a a massive divide between these
Well,
two
is he gonna
feelings.
is she gonna break up with him as he's saying his vows, where you're spouting off what you absolutely feel about her? And if the vows aren't right, was she gonna break up with him right there on the altar if they do get married? I mean, it's fucking nuts. It's crazy. I'm
Right.
sorry.
With this mentality, the way that she abuse. I mean, this is abuse. It's kind of abuse. It's a an emotional manipulation. It is
Hmm.
a power grab. It's a complete control over the relationship by dangling in front of him. And I think that this kind of personality would carry on into a marriage where instead of I'm going to break up with you, it's I'm going to divorce you if you don't do this. And I could definitely see that coming. Uh, so the interesting thing here is that she's using breakups as a method of control, and not even just when he upsets her,
Hmm.
but even when she's in the wrong and doesn't want to have to accept the blame, which is also very highly manipulative. She's shown a tendency to hide things from him, which is a red flag there. And some of these things might be things that she feels ashamed of. For example, perhaps she doesn't think her GED is good enough and she was hiding that from him. Or maybe she doesn't necessarily want to have her car insurance attached to her ex, but that's the way it is. That's how it has to be right now. Whatever. But instead of communicating that to him, she is cutting off all communication and saying, either you ignore this and let it continue my way, or it's the end of us. I mean, perhaps he could do this another way. He could try to find ways to help her trust him more with the parts of herself that she's uncomfortable with, and then that might make it easier for them to communicate. But I just don't know if that kind of communication can happen with this dynamic alive in their relationship. She has major jealousy issues. She has
Hmm.
major trust issues, and from his description of the breakup during the trophy ceremony, I almost wonder if there's a certain kind of timing that's going along with
Yeah.
this, like a selective breakup. Like you don't even get to have that moment. Like this thing is not. I still have this control. Look at my control. I can take this away from you.
Well, that was the thing, right? I read that about the trophy ceremony. It was something that he had been looking forward to, I guess, all year, and she just literally took it away from him. That's evil, man. I mean, and the way it was described is those almost it was just taken away from him because it was just taken away from him. It's not like she broke up with him for a reason before the ceremony. What is that? That's crazy. I mean, like he couldn't have 5 minutes in the sun. Like
Yeah, that's
it had to be drama with him and her so that he would then come crawling back to her. But there was something that you had said that I thought was very very on point. It was she was using this to basically deflect talking about anything serious. That is that is excellent because that is crazy on point. Because no matter what she said or he said or it was something that she did, it was just a way to avoid the conversation altogether and turn it into something else so they didn't have to talk about the main point. That's excellent insight.
yeah. I mean, well,
Hmm.
there are likely a lot of underlying factors here. We don't know what drives a person to need that kind of control in a romantic relationship, and I'm curious about how the power structure in the home and the balance of that, and kind of maybe maybe this is her only way of grabbing power, and this is how she's showing it. But this man, boy, whatever situation he's in, he's being stifled
Hmm.
and he's being muted, right? He
Yep.
has no voice anymore, and he's starting to accept it, which
Hmm.
is the beginning of the end.
Well,
Uh, Go ahead.
it's not just the beginning of the end. It's almost as if like he's going to end up being this type of stifled muted person for the rest of his life if he continues to be with her. So like my particular advice in this situation is, and I don't say this lightly, is you need to get the hell away from her as fast as you can because I honestly think if that's her defense mechanism with regards to it, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for him, and he has started to accept it, and he's starting to sort of misunderstand his feelings for her because he quote says he loves her so much and he wants to have a meaningful relationship with her, but unless she fixes the way that she argues and sort of just sort of communicates with him, I just don't think it's going to get any better for him. That's just me.
No, you're right.
Mm.
This is this. So generally in relationships, there is a power imbalance. People love to imagine the concept that it's a 50-50 thing. It's all balanced and equal and perfect. Rainbows, unicorns, fairy dust.
Mm.
But in reality, it is often imbalanced. And in a healthy relationship, a slight imbalance is actually quite all right. If we're going to use percentages, which doesn't mean anything, but at the same time makes a point here. If you were to say that it was like a 60-40 balance of power, that's perfectly fine, especially if both people involved in a relationship are happy and comfortable with that kind of balance. Uh, you go a little bit further to 70-30, that's where things start to get a little off. And beyond that, it's generally an indication of some kind of um, major imbalance and possibly, uh, control and abuse issues. But
Mm.
People will sign up for this. Some people don't want to be the powerful one in the relationship, the one that controls, the one that dictates everything, and they're happy to accept their 40%, and that's perfectly fine. So, yeah, and that's the other thing about this is not set in stone. Pal- Balance of power shifts. There are times in a relationship where one person's taking the lead and driving, the other person's, backed off a little bit, and then it can switch up depending on life circumstances, depending on, sometimes it's attached to a move or jobs or relationships with the family. It can always happen.
I
But
would want to
go
ask
ahead.
this guy, like, is this your first girlfriend? Because the way that he sort of talks about her, the way that he describes her as, oh, I love her so much. Oh, I really do this, and she's broken up with me so many times. I only got to believe that this is a girlfriend that this is one of his first ever girlfriends or first ever relationships, and he sort of just doesn't want to let go. I mean, am I reading into that too much, or am I
No,
thinking it's like, this guy just doesn't have an experience as to what an actual healthy relationship is. So that
right.
tells me that this is an like a first or a second relationship. So
Well, I mean, he's what you said, 23.
23, yeah,
He's been with her for 2 years. So that's from 21.
21, yep.
Uh, this is a young relationship, uh, and I think, a lot of people who go through these kind of relationships hopefully learn that this is not acceptable and this is not what they want. And going forward into more adult, mature relationships, they make sure that this kind of imbalance of power does not occur.
Hmm.
Uh, so, as I was saying before, it's not actually very difficult to adjust that balance if you need to, like especially in an extreme situation like this. But it comes with the risk that you may lose the person. They may not be willing to accept that shift. And I think if this guy stands up for himself and says, "You do not get to break up with me every time you don't want to deal with something, or every time I do something that bothers you a little bit, that is not acceptable to me, and that I would rather not have you than have that kind of dynamic," you know, it's possible that she won't take that, and then she'll go on her way, and he will get a win for that.
Yeah.
However, if she decides to try to figure out a way to make this work and try to achieve some kind of balance and open a line of communication with him, then that's also a win for them, especially if he wants to marry her.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? One of those things I didn't see in the text was how many times he broke up with her, because I'm thinking that's zero. So to me, it's
It's
like
definitely zero.
he's never sort of gotten to the point where he's even thought about it. I think she always puts him on the back foot and really just makes him stumble up. So final thoughts on this from me is that, dude, no, no more. Don't put up with this. Have a real conversation with her, and if she tries to break up with you again, I say call her on her bluff and just don't come back. Because then you could actually theoretically switch the power dynamic in your relationship, assuming that's what you want. But at the same time, you know what? You sort of got to let the cage bird go. Because if it then comes back to you, then you have something. But in this particular case, if she's just using it as empty threats, then you need to call her out on it. That's just me.
Yeah, if he wants to be happy. If he doesn't want to be happy and he wants to keep her, he can do this for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be traumatic. I totally agree with you there. Uh, I think it's worth, instead of just leaving, I think it's worth trying to renegotiate things.
Yeah.
But if she's not going to budge at all, then definitely walk out, man. Uh, just before we move on to the next topic, though,
Yes.
so I've been seeing a great number of Reddit posts this week that are people saying, "Hey, I've got issues in my relationship, and we're gonna take a break." And so I thought about this guy, like, in his mind, if he doesn't really want to break up with her, he might be like, "Oh, well, maybe we just need a little distance, a little space." And I'm thinking to myself, I I can't think of too many scenarios where people took a break and it didn't eventually end in their relationship crumbling. And was just wondering, from you know off the top of your head, do you think taking a break ever works?
No, because that's from personal experience. when I took a break, and when we stopped, it ended. So that was from the one relationship where I did take a break, and I've seen other people take breaks before, especially like I've seen people take breaks from marriage, and that didn't end well. So it's one of those things that I think the idea sounds better than the actual execution. Because the idea of it is like, okay, we need to separate from each other. We need to basically clear our heads, and we need to go out there and maybe reevaluate our situations, and we need to then come back and figure out where we are. Well, the problem with taking a break is that if you find yourself happier, freer, you know, doing things that is now making you a hell of a lot more happy when you are not with that person, what does that say? Let's say that your relationship is stifling you, that your relationship is not making you happy. Your relationship is terrible, miserable. Now, the whole idea of it is like, oh, I miss that person so much. I don't understand. I don't like with you. No, I just don't. I come from the thing is I come from the mentality of if you're going to take a break, you might as well just end it because you haven't had the guts enough to sort of face your problems head on with each other, or you did and you're just not getting anywhere, and it's just not going to be helpful, and it might be time to just go out and do other things with different people. And this happens in marriages too. Like husband and wife don't get along for so long, they go off and then they file for divorce and they find out that everything is just a little better when they're just not with each other, and it happens. So I don't know. What's
Right.
your personal take? That's my
I
personal feeling of it all. So
I think that people will use the take a break uh, as a soft exit when they don't want to hurt the other person. They'll say, "Okay, maybe we should take a break," and you know, I don't really want to see any other people. I just want like a little space to breathe. Next week they're with somebody else
yeah,
because, and they didn't tell you about it. It's like
yeah,
they needed that one step out, but they didn't want to just level you. So they're like easy out, slow out. Um, and I think that you were absolutely right about this. That uh, it just doesn't exist well, and in the way that let's start over fresh doesn't exist well. It's not entirely doable. You
hmm
can't just start over fresh. You've got history. Just like this, you can taking a break from a relationship, that's kind of like taking a break from a roller coaster ride. You do, you got to
yeah,
wait till it comes to the end.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're going to go flying off and yeah. So, you don't just get to like put your feelings on hold or expect the other person to. So, generally if you're at a place where you're like I want to take a break, it means you want to break up with the person and you're
yes,
not comfortable with that. And if the person says to you, "I think we should take a break," it's them telling you that they don't want to hurt you as much or they don't want to deal with what comes with hurting you and that they want to be done too.
yeah,
So, there's a little bit of that.
yeah.
But
No, I
let's go
get
ahead
you.
and jump forward into the next one. Oh yeah, you got anything?
No,
Are you ready
that
to move on?
my only thought is my last thing about that whole break thing is, uh, you aren't going to like if you do get back together after a break what that other person has done during that break, because all that means is that your significant other or yourself are experimenting, dating other people, and they might have not enjoyed it when they've done it, and they come back to you, and then you end up being very angry because you end up going with somebody else, and yeah, no fun. So that's my
True.
final thought on that. So,
Yeah.
but let's
All
get
right, Z. Well, I'm gonna have to ask you to take down some of your filters, open up a little bit here, and maybe even get a little nasty because our
ooh,
next topic here is a little freaking freaky.
freaky
So,
freaky.
yeah,
Okay, so
it's
this is just to let people know. This is the first time we've actually experimented talking about like this type of subject, which is a little risque, even for I guess for Twitch, even right. I mean, like, but we've never really gone in depth with regards to sort of bodily functions and issues with regards to that. I think this is the first time, right?
I think we had one in one of our earlier, like in one of the originals, where we talked about boobs. And that's right. There was that guy that was talking about his girlfriend boobs a lot, and
Oh yeah,
really
yeah,
pissed
yeah,
her
yeah.
off because she was like, "What the hell are you talking about my boobs for?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So sure, feel free to self-edit some certain words or whatever,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
we still got to get to it. These people, this is a real problem. So
This is absolutely a real problem, and is from relationship advice here, and it's got pretty decent upvotes. I gotta say that this one actually, you use the big O word, and people immediately come running to give their advice. So this is from the Reddit our relationship advice. It's from lollygagging. Very funny. How do I tell my boyfriend that he's never actually given me the big O? Is basically what she is saying. So my boyfriend, my 20F boyfriend 21M, and I have been together for 2 years. Him and I both have a pretty high sexual drive, and we do it all the time. But he's never given me the big O. It's partially my fault because the first time we had sex, I faked it, and since then I haven't been able to let him down. Wanted to let him down, so I just keep doing it. There's been times I've tried mentioning foreplay and guided him to where I'd like him to focus, but the man doesn't know how to touch the big C. Oh man, to save his life. Oh, he needs a roadmap. That's what he needs. Good lord. I know he tries and he's gotten me close, but he goes into hyperdrive the minute I say so and finishes before I can. How do I bring it up without hurting his feelings or our sex life? Oh my goodness. Do you want to take the lead on this? Because I have my thoughts on this, but I just sort of want to gather my thoughts about this a little quick. Because
sure.
this is just
Yeah.
one of those things in which it started off bad, I think, with her faking it. Because it only leads down a dark path.
True enough, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to start off saying that this is a two-person problem, and anyone that is pissed off at their lover because they're not doing something, that is half of the problem, and you are the other half.
Mm.
Sex is a two-person thing. Sometimes it's a 4 to 8 person thing, depending on how your Thursday nights go. But in this case, the as you said, starting off on a lie is a recipe for disaster.
Mm.
She it's pretty easy just to dump this this problem on him and say and blame him and say, oh, you should have figured it out over time. But in a healthy sexual relationship, there has to be that open communication, and there has to be effort on both sides to make things work, even if the effort is making something work for you personally, like having an orgasm. So you know you have to act as a guide to someone who's not familiar with your body, and you know if you start with a lie, you're going to get more lies,
Yeah.
and then to say that he's just oblivious, then maybe she needs to like be more obvious about things.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. But, the lying at the very beginning, I sort of want to point out, I understand why she did it. She was trying to be nice, and she likes this guy, and I don't blame her. You don't want to tell your significant other that it didn't really happen for you. It's a big ego thing to know that you have satisfied your female partner. It is great. But, and I say but, it is up to him to motivate her in letting her be open about how to satisfy her. He needs to know that a woman is like a car in the wintertime. You have to give some time to warm it up. And she mentioned, longer foreplay, guiding him where he goes. He's not doing it. He's not putting in the effort. If you really, really want to let her have the satisfaction that she needs, he needs to listen to her. And I think that's where her frustration is coming up. And I completely understand that because, depending on who you are, some people are in it for themselves. And then there are others who are givers, who like making sure that their partner is satisfied as well as they are. To me, he seems a little selfish, not knowing where to go and what to do and how to do it, as he seems like he is sort of locked into what he's doing, and it's very difficult to explain. But you know what? The best relationships are the ones where you can basically open up to your partner and say, hey, how about doing it this way? Or, hey, why don't I take the lead and I guide you and you do what you do what I say, and I think we would have a better time for both of us. I mean, it, you have to take the shame out of it, because if you're going to be doing that together, this is as intimate as it gets. You don't want to be dead fishes basically with each other and not talk and just be awkward. That's not the point. You're sharing an intimate moment with each other that actually has a great side effect of, the big O for both of you. You don't want to shut up and not say anything or not listen to what the other person wants, because you know what? If she's happy, you're going to be happy about it. That's my take on this whole thing. Is he inexperienced at 21? Absolutely. Yeah, and is she inexperienced? Absolutely at 20. But I think they could be growing together if they were able to just sort of talk about it. Yeah.
I think that her lying and faking it is handicapping her sexual experience.
Mhm.
I think that doing that, she's alleviating guilt on his part, but she's keeping herself from achieving actual, sexual fulfillment. And while she might not put all the blame on him because she knows that she's part of the problem by lying about it, she can't really be very happy thinking about going forward in a relationship without having her needs met. So before you mentioned the ego thing,
Yeah.
and like I think male ego when it comes to whether or not you can make a woman have an orgasm is it's a fragile thing, and uh, I think that he probably thinks he's doing very well if he finds out that he hasn't been, and not just like a little bit, but that basically the whole time she's been faking it.
Yeah.
That's going to be a pretty damaging blow to him. So if she can find a way to get past his ego and just get him to the already succeeding part where he, through some guidance or through, switching things up a little bit in the bedroom, where he actually succeeds, then he won't get hit as hard at the point that he finds out, if he ever finds out, that it's been faking up to now.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, though, he might see that he's been faking up to now, because when she actually does have the big O in this particular case, I think her bodily reactions, like her physical body, the reaction to it might be completely different to how she's been, quote, faking it. Because her boyfriend's never
Right.
actually seen her actually have an orgasm. So,
Yeah, she could have really ugly orgasms. you know,
that
gnarled
O
up
face might
fingers
be
and scrunchy
completely
face,
different. Yeah. But
and
that's
they'll
what
be
I
like,
mean.
"What happened?
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand what's going on.
Am I
It's like,
hurting you?"
yeah, it's like you just started screaming all of a sudden. It was really loud. But that's the thing, right? Like, she's been lying for so long that at this point, like, it's either devastate the boyfriend or figure out like a way to get him to do it without destroying him, essentially. Because if 2 years has gone by and she's not had an orgasm, she's really sexually frustrated. And it's gotten to the point where, what? You either have to suck it up and tell him, or you're going to have to make him do what you want him to do without do it without telling him. And I don't see any other way. It's just that's what I think. So
Yeah. So, one thing I think might also help them is if they set different goals in the bedroom. Like one of them being that her pleasure needs to move up on the priority list. I think this is kind of like a Energizer Bunny, bang, 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 bang. Did you like that
oh yeah,
thing?
yeah,
And I think instead, if he puts her first and says, we aren't going anywhere until this is handled, that might be really good for them. And
yep,
and if traditional methods are not getting her there, then
uh-huh.
maybe they need to start thinking outside of the box.
That's
Waka
right.
waka.
Waka
You know,
waka.
get a
Well,
toy, get something else that will.
You
stimulate things to the point where he can't really mess up.
So what do you think about this? You ever seen one of the you seen the we play a game called Taboo, and there's that little buzzer when you say the wrong word. What if they had that buzzer in the bedroom that when he starts going into quote hyper mode, she immediately hits the buzzer and be like, "Gotta stop. You're not there yet."
This is not a Japanese game show. That is a
I'm just saying. I
horrible
was like,
idea.
what is a way that you can basically be like there's like audio cues or something like that. I don't know. It's just something a little different. That I don't know. That maybe could
I
help.
think that they should start with just talking to each other. At the point that you're bringing in the taboo buzzer, I think uh, you're going down a path and you might not be able to come back from.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it'd be
but
fun at
here's
least
here's
once.
I would laugh. So if you can find a video, I'll watch it. Um, so I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that negotiating intimacy takes the sexiness out of it?
No. No, because I think negotiating intimacy gets you things that you don't necessarily get out of a natural sort of sexual encounter sometimes. Stimulate, like, I don't want to go too much into my sex life, but there are times when it would just sort of happens and yeah, it's great. It's all the other stuff. But there are times where you sort of sit around, you talk about it, you think of some fun things to do, then all of a sudden it happens and you're like, yeah. And I think it doesn't take the sexiness out of it. I think it actually adds a little bit of spiciness to it because you're experimenting with things. You're doing new things. You're having fun with it. You're taking the taboo-ness out of it also. It doesn't necessarily mean that what you're doing isn't sexy. You're you're placating to some of your needs that you might have, or you might have not needed before, but you're like, oh my god, that's really great. I mean, what about you? I mean, like that this goes back to you also. I mean, like does negotiating what you do in the bedroom feel awkward to you? Because to me, it doesn't. I think it's something that's a little bit natural, especially if the two people have been with each other for a long, long time. And 2 years is to me a long time. So
So I would say that it can. If you're young in a relationship, then having to have some of these conversations might take the sexiness out of it. But at the point that you really trust the person and you know them well and you can kind of let down those barriers, I think nothing but good can come from it.
yeah,
And that there's so much that you can learn by just sort of figuring it out. You can just dive in and see what's up. Then there's some that you can learn from the person indicating through helping you or saying things during the process. But if you are outside of the bedroom and you're talking about some of these things, you can go you can go a little bit you can go to different places. You're
yeah,
not caught up in what's happening in the moment, and you can say, "Oh, I didn't know that that was your thing," or uh, I was thinking about trying this. What do you think?" And I think it's okay. I don't think if you're too shy to talk about this stuff, you probably shouldn't be putting your parts together. This is kind of like an adult thing, and you should be okay with that.
yeah. You shouldn't be
By the way,
shamed about talking about
you
it.
know what? You get through this stuff, you get over that initial discomfort. The end result is win-win. You get better sex, better skills, better communication, better balance. It all comes together, and so do you.
Well, summed it up great. And that's the thing, right? That's it. Better communication equals better sex, better skills. I mean, you summed it all up. I mean, that's the thing, right? The you and my final point is that I hear the word cringe a lot, which makes me actually cringe. If you are cringing at the talk of talking to somebody about your sexual satisfaction, then you're going to be cringing all your life because this is something that, especially if you have a partner, that you should absolutely talk about. Now, not necessarily at the beginning of a relationship, but if you've gone through a long relationship, you should talk to the person. It'll make you both happier in the long run. So that's going to be that for that discussion. So let's see if we get banned for Twitch from that one. I mean, but you've got girls who are bouncing around. I saw a girl in a Pikachu outfit on a different Twitch channel, dancing to DDR and getting donations. So I think us talking about a woman not getting orgasm should be okay.
This is health, okay? This is a spiritual thing that we're discussing here. Physical, emotional, and if I have to do it while wearing a Pikachu costume dancing around, I will do that too.
One of
But
these
I'm not
days we
getting banned
will.
for this.
Yeah, one of these days we will do this show in an outfit, possibly as an anime outfit that we can talk about everybody's relationship issues, and maybe that will gain donations. Who knows?
Yeah, our Sunday focus on furries.
Oh my god.
Okay, so before we go down too far down this rabbit hole, let's move on to our third topic,
Okay.
and this is from the relationship Reddit. It's a post by Adiville, spelled kind of funky, but uh, okay, I'll hit them with a link real quick. But it's my 29. This is a 29-year-old male.
Uh
My
huh.
girlfriend, a 22-year-old female, has a sparse bachelorette pad type apartment, and it puts me off. Okay, so uh, from the beginning here, we kind of get a sense that there's an age gap, and perhaps that has something to do with it. But this
Yep.
is a lifestyle. This is gonna be more of a lifestyle thing, a relationship
Mhm.
lifestyle thing. So let me put the link here, and then I'll get into it.
So when we're talking about this was one that when I saw this afternoon, just for anybody just sort of filling in, I was sort of confused because this is a sort of lifestyle thing, and I just didn't see where this guy was coming from. We're going to talk about this more after Tim reads this, but I was just I just sort of read this and just didn't understand. So it was very, very interesting just to see this guy's perspective as to what he thought of his girlfriend's bachelor pad apartment. So,
Okay, I'm good to go.
yeah.
All right. So my girlfriend Rachel is a very organized and disciplined person. We first met at work, but we don't work together anymore. I asked her out shortly before she quit working at my office, and things went from there. She never had me over to her place in the beginning, and she said that it was just because she didn't like spending all her time at home. She'd rather be out doing things. This week, after about 4 months of dating, I saw her place for the first time, and it's so unlike what I expected. She's got minimal stuff. It's not like a home at all. It honestly looks temporary, like she's just there for a week, despite her having lived there for 3 years. The place is really small and dingy. It's got a peeling laminate floor and dirty looking walls. Her kitchen is so bare, she's only got one set of cutlery, almost no cooking tools. Her bedroom has a mattress on pallets and not much else except a closet of clothes, and some clothes strewn around the floor. She's got a sleeping bag unzipped to lie flat rather than a blanket on her bed. Her bathroom is kind of dirty, her shower is grimy with soap residue, and her toilet has a ring around the waterline. She's got one big messy crate with all of her beauty stuff like lotions and makeup thrown in haphazard. She can afford so much better. We're both engineers. She gets paid well at her job, and she has no debt because her parents paid for her college. And everywhere else, she's so well put together, so well dressed, and her desk was always organized and cute at work with lots of little personal touches. It felt so weird to see her place, and I asked her why it was like that, or what it was like that, why she had so little in there. And she said, "Stuff doesn't really make me happy. I've got what I need here. I don't really care to buy more things for the sake of buying. I don't spend much time here anyway." I asked her if it wouldn't be nicer to have a more comfortable place, and she just said that she didn't care. It was worth it wasn't worth the money to her. And I have more weird feelings about this. I feel like she presents herself so differently on the outside world. She's so well put together in her appearance, she keeps her car and workspace so neat and pretty. It feels a little like an act now. I also feel like we might be incompatible if we ever live together, which is something that's a longer term goal for me in a relationship. Am I overthinking this? She's a perfect girl otherwise. Okay. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I still don't get it. I really don't. But this is coming from a man who's a pack rat. And this, I, just to let the audience know, have the tendency to keep too many things in my room and in my house. It is just the way I am. It takes help for me to throw stuff away, but when I do, it feels great. But to judge another person to not have any stuff doesn't seem my place. Now, I understand that they're dating and there is about a 7-year age gap here, but I just get these vibes that the girlfriend is almost Asian. And I don't know why, because I've the and just go with me on this because this is a little weird, but I'm gonna this end somewhere. I've gone to a lot of my Asian friends. I myself am Asian. I've gone to their apartments when they were starting out right out of college, and that's around this age. So she's 22. So I remember going to my friend's place when he was like 22, like just 6 months out of college. A couple of friends, all that. Both were Korean. One was Korean. I think one was Japanese, and their apartments were almost described the exact same way. They made good amount of money, were working really, really well, very, very professional at work, very highly thought of. Apartments were empty. They didn't really have anything. Their bed was on a sort of rail, I think is what they were called. They're just like little rails. There was no bed frame. Closet was full of clothes, but there were no cabinets. There are no drawers. Living room had a sofa, but it was relatively cheap. Not really anything. Big TV, but other than that, one set of silverware because why do you need more? You don't have guests coming over. So the logical sort of things with about that was like, oh, okay, they just haven't gone around to shopping enough. 1 year later, same thing. Still didn't happen. So it took them a while before they started even gathering up stuff and understanding that they needed more things. But I completely understand where Rachel is at her age, thinking about that and doing stuff. I think it. I don't know if the age gap starts to play a little bit more into this than I'm thinking, but I just think it's weird for him, even at 30, to be thinking that somebody doesn't have a lot of stuff in their room or in their apartment at all. I just, it's just weird.
So, my take. And like I definitely get what you're saying, and
Yeah,
not only do I think I know these people that you're talking about,
yeah,
so
yeah, I think you do.
uh, so I can definitely feel what you're feeling. Uh, and I myself, at various points in my life, have lived in what I call it monk mode,
Hmm.
basically where I have just enough to you know do what I need to do in my life, get through the day, and carry on outside. I I don't know that it defines the person. I clearly could say that does not define the person for me
Hmm.
because I've existed in many different worlds through travel and through living in different environments. But my initial take of this is a minimalist versus materialist kind of thing. The
Hmm.
dynamic is she doesn't need things, she doesn't want things, extra things sort of clutter up her world, and she's just not about that. Whereas he's more interested in having a home. He used the word home instead of apartment or anything like that. So I get a sense that this guy is more concerned about having his things around him to give himself comfort. But after reading it a little more deeply and seeing that their age difference there, I think there's more going on here. I think a 22-year-old anywhere, you cannot expect them to have all their stuff
Things.
together.
Yeah.
I mean, sure she's an engineer, but she's been an engineer for what, half a year because she just got out of school. So that's not a lot of time to suddenly become an adult. And you just because you have an apartment doesn't mean you're going to immediately fill it up with stuff. And for her, because she doesn't really care about that, I can definitely see maybe that's not her thing. Now, throwing your clothes on the floor, that's more of a habit thing.
Hmm.
She may not be that cleanly when it comes to her home life, where she wants to put on a more professional look when she's in the office. But the griminess of the bathroom, that's where things start to get different for me. Uh, I mean, there's a difference between a minimalist and being lazy and dirty. So if you're not cleaning the ring in your toilet, that's not because you're a minimalist and you don't want to deal with America's
Yeah, yeah.
capitalistic
Spend $7 on a
materialism.
toilet brush.
No,
Yeah.
this is you not wanting to get some gloves and get in there and clean up after yourself.
Hell, you can buy
So,
$3 cleanser and put it in there,
hey,
and it'll do
you
it
know what?
yourself.
If you're an engineer, you can afford to have someone come in and clean every once in a while. Like, if that's not your thing, at least get it covered.
Hmm.
But I don't think she has people over, so maybe it doesn't matter to her at all. if she's just basically just putting on her clothes, leaving, coming back at night, maybe eating something and passing out, this could just be like a stop off place.
Exactly.
But I then I asked myself, is this a male female thing? But I don't think that matters either. I think that there are plenty of guys that do the same thing. I mean, if if you took a snapshot of my apartment before I married my wife and before I had, before she moved in with me, it was very, very minimalist. I mean, this whole thing of like mattress on the floor and one set of cutlery and that kind of stuff, that's pretty common for single people who are
Mm-hmm.
not they're not settling in forever. I was in Abu Dhabi and I wasn't planning on living there forever, so I wasn't going to go out and start buying all kinds of things to fill up an apartment that I was, going to leave in a year later or 2 years, whatever. But after she came, we started nesting, and then all this stuff started filling up, and I moved from a minimalist to a hesitant materialist. And so I was spending a lot of money that I wasn't really happy about, but it did develop into a comfortable place we could call home.
But you've never
So
been a comfortable materialist. I mean, like, I've known you half my life, and you've never been a person that's always been concerned with, quote, things.
nope.
Yeah, it's like, your money ends up going into other things. It never goes into things, as long as I've ever met you, at least. So it's like,
No.
yeah. So
I
I,
can I can spend my money on the clothes I need for the year. If as long as my electronics and computer stuff is set up, I'm good to go.
mhm.
Uh, as for do I have matching pillows for my couch? Mm, ask somebody else for that one because I'm not going to help you there. But so getting back to this guy though, and his issue with the girl. So maybe yeah, having money doesn't mean that she's cleanly, and it doesn't mean that being organized and successful makes you automatically that way in every element of your life. So if he's worried about the future of them and them cohabitating, just take it from me that how you live on your own does not indicate how you live when you cohabitate. I was much cleaner on my own. Now that I'm cohabitating, where it's much more messy. But like then you come across a new set of things that you need to start thinking about when you're together. You need to start negotiating those shared spaces, dividing up those chores. The things that you hate to do, get them to do that, and you'll do the other thing. People are much more aware when they have someone else around. So instead of just throwing your clothes right in the middle of the floor, you might kick it off to the side, or you know what I mean. You might actually
No,
hang it up.
no, absolutely. You need sometimes the another person gives you the motivation to clean. You know what I'm saying? It
Sometimes the other person gives you the motivation to adult, like
well, yeah,
to move from the bachelor lifestyle to a nested adult
yeah,
long term kind of thing.
because you're sort of forced into it, right? Because you're living with another person. You can't just make decisions for yourself anymore. You have to deal with how that other person like feels with you throwing your clothes around or not putting things in the proper place or not having enough forks for dinner. It's little
True.
things like that. It's sort of funny, but I want to go into this just a little bit more because I just honestly think that the age gap is more part, and it's not the sex of being male or female. I've seen males live the same way that this 22-year-old female lives. I've seen a lot of guys live that way. And I just think there is this weird sort of negative connotation where women are associated with being a little bit more materialistic, but in most cases, it's both genders can be, but it could be just about different things. There's a certain female that I know is obsessed with makeup, and there's a certain person that I know is
Oh man, I think I married her.
oh, I think you might have. And I know there's another person who's obsessed with figurines and Warhammer 2000 toys. And he was so obsessed, he ended up starting a store because of it. And if we could ever get him to sponsor our show, then maybe we'll advertise his store. So, but that's what I mean. Like, there are different things, different ways that people live. It's fine. I think he's just reading into it. I think he also needs to understand that when you do live with each other, I think she might end up changing. She might actually end up changing him because he might have too much stuff. She might be uncomfortable with a lot of the junk that he has, and she maybe wants
Yeah.
to live more of a Spartan Japanese style lifestyle where you don't have too much going on for you, but you go out more. You don't necessarily live in your apartment all the time. You're not necessarily a homebody, things like that.
Yeah, I can say from my experience,
Hmm.
my wife and I did meet in the middle. She was a person who had all things and wanted all things. I was a person who wanted nothing. And
Hmm.
we met in the middle, and now we have too much stuff, but much less than we would have if I just let her go.
Yeah.
So there we
Mm.
are. But before we wrap this one up, do you think it's okay for him, or I guess for anyone, to ask someone to change their personal space before living together?
That is an interesting question because that is under the assumption that either one of you are going to move in with each other. I mean, is that what you're asking? Like, what you're saying
No,
is
no.
that, yeah. So clarify for me a little bit as to what you mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this situation, you are dating someone,
Mm-hmm.
you go to their place, you look at it, you're like, oh my God, this is not acceptable for me, the way I live. Can you ask them to change their personal space, even though you don't live together? Let's say you've been dating for 6 months or whatever. So this is not just like the beginning of the relationship, you actually have a relationship. Can you, is it okay for you to start making comments and start telling them they need to make those adjustments in their own personal space and personal life?
Hmm. I want to say no, but if you are going to be going to her apartment a lot, enough to basically live there maybe once in a while. And when I mean live, I mean stay over, possibly, sexy time, stuff like that. Maybe you can say, hey, maybe you can have a little pillow or two, maybe an extra set of forks, put stuff on the walls. I'll help you clean your bathroom, stuff like that. Yeah, I guess you can. If you're going to be there enough, then I would say little things. I don't think you can overhaul and say, hey, you need a bedroom set. No. Or you need to improve your living room apparatus. No. It's like if you want to watch TV in your own home. Things like
Yeah.
small things, I think, are okay. I think it needs to be restricted a little bit to the little things. I don't think you can overall tell them, hey, you need to change the way that your living room looks like or what your bedroom looks like. You can make that odd comment. It's like, oh, your bathroom's disgusting. You should really clean that once in a while. It's like I think more people would notice that. Sometimes people just they don't think and they just don't care. And it's like, and then maybe it'll get in their head a little bit, and maybe they'll do some of the little things. But you can't motivate anybody to say, oh, you need a full bed frame, or oh, you need a better living room. It's just if you don't like it there, go to your own place.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
mm,
if you don't have your life like perfect, spick and span, then you should not be criticizing someone else's. Um, however, if I'm thinking about this exact situation that we're talking about tonight.
mm.
If I was the guy and I went to her place and I was expected to like take a shower in there and use the bathroom, I might be like, you know what, I'm actually just gonna go home, and that's gonna make this thing a little awkward. But like, that's kind of gross, and I'm not gonna do that. So sorry. And
Well,
like maybe
you
that's enough of a manipulation to get it done, but uh y- there are certain standards I think you just have to meet, and
you
it's
could you
okay to
could
call
turn it
people out
into
on
a
it.
group activity. Both of you clean the bathroom together at the same time. Turn it into a bonding experience. And then maybe you
You
say,
know
hey, look.
what? I don't I see what you're doing here, and I applaud you for it, because if you this is something you do, then go for it. For me, uh if this person has done this themselves, I think they can clean it themselves. I don't know.
So
Maybe I'm
selfish.
just being selfish.
You are
I am.
selfish.
Yeah, I am. I know.
No, but you're right. I mean, the thing about it is though sometimes I'll say this, a little apprehensively, but sometimes people just need to be told straight up that this needs to get fixed or you need to change this. Otherwise, people aren't going to do anything. So, if let's say Rachel happened the girl in the post is used to just doing her own thing and not being told stuff, then maybe once in a while you need to actually step up and tell her that you need to sort of change this, because if anything, a gross bathroom can be fixed and is something that you should mention to somebody. It's like, this bathroom is gross, you need to clean it. It's like, that's not, I don't think that's insulting. That's just telling you. It's like, how long has it been since you cleaned your bathroom? Come on, go ahead, do it. This is not, you know, sanitary for most normal people. So I'm just saying, it's like, you can be honest, especially if you're in a relationship with a person. It's like you go over to their home, it's like, Jesus, what have you done with the place? And, you tell them straight up, it's like, this is not how a normal person should be in this particular case. But you can't really judge, you shouldn't judge somebody for being Spartan, being a minimalist. That is just a lifestyle. It's fine. But dirty bathroom, grimy floors, clean that shit up.
Yeah. And pick your clothes up.
Exactly. It's like, be an adult, for
Yeah.
God's sake. Come on. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's where we are with that.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do you feel right now? Where are we at?
I don't know how
Are we
we
good for the
can.
night or
I think we are. The thing about it is we go too long. I think. Uh, I think it might not be beneficial for us. Well, we can save this for another day. I honestly think this probably should be a topic for its own, because this is we're
yeah,
just trying to tease you for our
maybe
next show.
Sunday?
Exactly, because what we would want to talk about has very strong connotations for slightly older people, but at the same time, you don't know if you're going to end up in that situation. Mm. So, maybe take this advice now, and don't worry about it when you get to this particular age group. So, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. I think we've gone over some of the subjects that we've talked about here in depth. Good enough. We were talking previously before the cast that I wanted to sort of change my talking style a little bit, just be a little bit more uh not necessarily thinking about what I'm going to say, but just a little bit more spontaneous. So hopefully you enjoyed my little change in style there, as we sort of go off into the sunset, because it is now 11:38 here on the East Coast as we wrap up. So I just wanted to thank everybody so much for joining us today on TwitchLine. As always, going to read you off my socials again. Just not going to get you off the hook on that. Contact us here at twitchlinelove@gmail.com if you have any questions, concerns, or comments for us that we will read online if you have a topic that you would love to talk about. You can tweet us at TwitchLine, link us any articles or anything like that. We might end up using it in the show. If you do, we'll definitely give you credit for helping out the show very much. Thank you very much. And also, remember, we're on SoundCloud now, so all of the segments that you just heard today will be available up on SoundCloud in the next day or two. So you can take it with you, listen to it in your car, find just alternate ways. If you're on a long road trip, hey, we're here to help you out. You might listen to some advice, listen to us. Maybe you'll find a way to sort of pass the time on that long drive. And as always, remember, we are archiving all of our clips here onto YouTube. You can just click on the YouTube button below. That'll take you onto our YouTube channel, and hit the subscribe button up on the top. Just make sure that you follow us so that you know when we go live, because we will be going live on YouTube as well as Twitch now on a regular basis. So yeah, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit the follow button here on the Twitch channel. Also, if you've been watching us live and liked what we were talking about, I saw you in the channel, Rangrith. So thank you so much for joining and watching us today. If you're still online, you might have disconnected already. But that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday night. Catch us on Sunday, where we'll be talking about a specific subject. Not sure yet. I'm actually going to be casting an Overwatch tournament also, so that time right now might be a little later than normal. So we might be on a little later on in the evening on Sunday, but catch us on Sunday, where we will be do our Sunday focus. So catch us back here on TwitchLine here on Twitch and on YouTube. But for Acorn, for Tim, I am Hodo Z. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.